welcome to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads. And hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm so excited and proud to be here for a brand new show. The show is called Holiday Traditions. And joining me is my friend, colleague, partner, an incredibly talented woman. Her name is Daphne Diluce, and she is the CEO and founder of Roar Media Creative and Brand Clever. She's a design and PR expert and so much more. Let's hear from her directly.
Well,
welcome.
Thank you for a wonderful introduction. Thank you for reminding me what I do.
Well, the list is so long, I couldn't possibly go through all of it. So it's lovely to see you there. How are things in the UK?
Things are wonderful in the UK. It's autumn time. The trees are turning gold and red and beautiful colours. People are getting back to their normal lives. The weather's quite good. It's not too cold. And we are very busy over here. But it's actually so lovely to be here today, and so lovely. This is our first holiday traditions show. And what a wonderful tradition to start off with, Hanukkah. The festival.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's so much that we don't know. There's so much to learn, and we have someone with us who is an expert. I have to say, our guest today, Heather Dean, she has been such a supporter from the very beginning when it was just rapping with Dr. Jacalyn on the radio with the phone, and I've learned so much from her. She has so much talent. She wrote an incredible book called Searching for Heather Dean. She was a celebrity interviewer. She was in New York. She interviewed some of the top people in the world, and she gave it all up and she moved to Israel, and she has her own podcast. She is a media coach and an expert. She has a program called Nail Your Interview. So let's bring her out and let's have a little chat about the holiday of Hanukkah. Hi, Heather.
Hi. Nice to see you, Dr. Jacalyn. Nice to meet you, Daphne, as well. We have an international show.
It's amazing. It's amazing. When the technology works, it is such an incredible gift, and we are spot on today. So, Heather, as I was just introducing you, I just want to thank you again publicly because you really have helped me so much, and you've such an open heart, and I really appreciate you. So, thank you again for everything and for being here today.
It's a pleasure to know you, and so fun to be here to talk about, and also be on the first show of Holiday Traditions. So this is exciting. It's a good holiday to start with.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I'll start off with the first question, which is, why is the holiday of Hanukkah important to you, Heather?
Okay, so I come from a Jewish home. Both of my parents of blessed memory are Jews. Have Jewish souls, so they're up in heaven at this time. But being a Jew, so growing up in America, there's so many holidays, and so when you're Jewish, the Jewish ones sort of get mixed in with everything that's going on during the year. Hanukkah at our home is super special because each one of my siblings and I grew up with 3 brothers. So each one of us had our own Hanukkah menorah, and they looked sort of like this. These are actually my children's menorahs, but our family has a whole bunch. So we each lit our own menorah, and Hanukkah takes place for 8 nights, which is what I'll explain in a couple of minutes. So we had, as the Adam Sandler song goes, instead of 1 night of presents, we had 8 crazy nights. So that was fun. So that was a nice tradition to grow up with. My mother made sure that she had all of the traditional foods ready and available for Hanukkah. So it's just a really, really super nice thing. It always takes place in the winter. In fact, it takes place at the darkest time of the year. On the Jewish calendar, that would be starting on the 25th of Kislev, the Jewish month of Kislev, and it's always the darkest time of the year. So that's why it sort of times out near the Christian holiday as well. But it's one of those things that the Festival of Lights lights up the world just when the world is at its darkest.
Thank you so much. That's fascinating, right, Daphne?
That is fascinating. I would just have loved to be looking through the window when you were growing up with 8 nights of happiness. So can you describe, how did your mum prepare the food? What did you actually eat? And did you have the same food every night for 8 days? Tell us more about it.
Right. So I just wanted to say about looking at the Hanukkah candles of the Dean home. Yes, it was very special. However, I invite you both and all of your fans and audience to come to Israel sometime, because wow, will you have a feast for the eyes, because as you pass by every building, and especially the apartment buildings where it's window after window full of these Hanukkah lights, and it is truly something magical, and you don't have to be Jewish to think this is really, really super special to look at. Everybody's celebrating miracles, and it is a time of miracles. So as far as what my mother did, no, she didn't prepare the same thing every night. It's such a festive holiday that the tradition is that there are parties most nights. So certainly where I am, there are families, some of them are very large families with many children and grandchildren, and there are families where it's just single households, but there's usually some sort of party to go to. Many weddings take place during the week of Hanukkah, so there's always something festival going on. And so therefore it's not upon any one lady of the house, man of the house, to make sure that certain things are fed to the families every night. But yes, usually there is some sort of delicacy fried in oil. What's so funny in Israel is just when we finish the fall holidays of Yom Kippur, well, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and then the holiday of Sukkot. As soon as Sukkot is finished, boom, all of the grocery shops start selling jelly donuts. And that goes back to the tradition of why are there so many foods filled with oil, and that's because oil plays a very important part of the holiday. But in addition to the oily foods, which I'll get to also in a second, the whole all of the menus are festive. So certainly there are just what normally families would have for dinner or normally serve for parties. It's just that the showstopper or the main part of it is everybody wants to know what sort of donuts are you going to be serving for dessert, or other delicacies, and of course fried potato latkes.
Heather, I have a question about that. My father loved jelly donuts. So the origin of jelly donuts is what?
Okay, so the origin of jelly donuts goes back to just what Hanukkah is all about. Like, why is it the Festival of Lights? Well, back in the ancient days, I mean, the Hanukkah story first really started in the 2nd century, which was around 2,500 years ago. So back then, you don't just go down to the shop and buy candles and voila, you have candles. Back then, candles were lit in oil cups. So the miracle of Hanukkah takes place because of a candle that was lit with an oil cup. So what had happened was, back then, the Jews who lived in Israel, it wasn't ruled by a Jewish king. Back then, ancient Greece, the ancient Greek government occupied the land of Israel. So there was a battle that took place. Everyone had different reasons. So for the ancient Greeks, just as all of the Mediterranean countries back then, they were on a mission of conquest and taking over land, because Greece was the big superpower, and one of the ways to be a big superpower is to have a lot of land. And certainly where Israel is, it's on the Mediterranean coast, but you have Asia to the north and Africa to the south, and Europe also off in the distance. So it's a very, very important port country as well. So this was very, very strategic for Rome. So in ancient Rome, again, it was about the conquest of land. But for the Jews, where this is our biblical homeland, it was more of a power struggle for ideological reasons. And it was a war because of religious lines. Like, this is the land that was and is given to us by God himself in the Bible. So that's where the Jews wanted to not be occupied by ancient Greece. So that's why there was a war. Again, Greece did not want to wage necessarily a war with weapons. And back then, they had spears and elephants and like whatever superpowers of the ancient world did have, as opposed to just most armies having bows and arrows and slingshots and things like that. So what's known by Jews, non-Jews, if you've ever heard of Judah the Maccabee, right? So there was a family, the sons of Matthias. Judah was one of them. So this family, they had had enough of ancient Greek occupation of Israel, and they actually rose up and fought back the Greeks. And this was a war that went on for about 3 years until finally Israel got back Jerusalem, the Holy Temple, and the miracle of oil comes from that. Finally, when the Jews won back their holy city of Jerusalem and the temple, is that they went into the temple to clean it up, because this is God's palace. So to clean it up and to light the menorah at the palace. But the menorah has to be lit with kosher oil. It should be anyway. It's supposed to be. And these were very religious Jews, and only kosher oil would do. So the Greeks, when they had ransacked the temple, had basically destroyed or contaminated the kosher oil reserves that were there, except the Jews did find 1 cup of oil. So they thought, okay, we're going to have to light this 1 cup of oil to commemorate the Holy Temple, and we will just have to, in the meantime, create kosher oil. And that takes many days to do. So meanwhile, this 1 cup of oil, which should have lasted just 1 day, guess how many days it lasted? It lasted 8 days. That's why we have the miracle of Hanukkah. Can you imagine any one of your birthday candles going on for 8 days? I mean, this is a miraculous thing.
Oh my gosh, Heather, you're a historian. That was fascinating. Thank you for all that information. We've got a comment from Haley Parker Close. Wow, this is so interesting. I'm learning so many new things. Hi, Haley. I hope you're doing well. I think she is in Australia doing Mamma Mia. I'm not sure, but let us know. Thanks for watching.
So I've got a question, Heather.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about Hanukkah?
I love the Hanukkah songs. I especially love, though, being with my family, because it's something I never imagined when I myself was a girl, because when you're a little girl, you just have these people, the grown-ups in your family, to look up to. It's hard to really know from their point of view what it's like to have children. Yeah, I just didn't even know what it was like to have children. Now that I have children, to see each one of my kids light their own, everyone takes turns, oldest to youngest, lighting their own menorah. There's a special blessing. And when a Jew hears someone say a blessing, we say amen to it. And amen means so be it, right? So to say amen or amen to one of my children's blessings is just that sort of pride that cannot be explained. And if you ever wondered what is the root of amen, why do we answer amen to prayers? Do you know why? It's so cool. Amen in Hebrew has 3 letters: the aleph, the mem, and the nun. The a, the and the n. Why is that? Because it's really an acronym for Kel Melch Ne'eman, which means God is the true, he's the trustworthy God. He is our trustworthy God. We trust in him. So that's why we're thinking, so be it, please God, God willing. That's what we mean when we say amen. So if you sneeze and someone says bless you, if you're Jewish, you can answer amen. Bless me. I'll take that blessing.
That's wonderful.
I didn't know that. Did you, Daphne?
I didn't know that, but I have got a really for me, I'm interested to know. So with the 8-day celebration, you're going to come across the Shabbat celebration amongst the Hanukkah celebrations. So does that do you just stop Hanukkah and do Shabbat, or do you mix them together? What happens with that one?
I love this question because I love it. This is something that you must be on a very high level, a very, very high level, and a very old soul, because this is something that we have to know what is the law regarding lighting the candles, because really every week once you light the Shabbat candles, Shabbat begins. Shabbat begins. There is a certain time to light it. There's a certain time at sundown. It varies every week because obviously sundown in London is going to be different from sundown in New York. It's going to be different from sundown in Tel Aviv or Beersheba or wherever a person is in Israel, Johannesburg, wherever it is in the world. When it's a certain sundown time and the Jewish person lights their Shabbat candles, Shabbat starts. Okay, so the thing is that once Shabbat starts, there are certain laws, and you've probably heard there's certain things we do, certain things we don't do, because we are in Shabbat mode. We are really commemorating creation. God created the world, and there's certain things we just don't do, and yes, do. So one of the things, once you light your Shabbat candles, you don't light anything else. You don't light anything else till after Shabbat is over. There's a candle that we light on Saturday nights, which is called the Havdalah candle, which means to differentiate between the Holy Shabbat and the rest of the week. So what do you do about lighting candles? Because you don't light your Hanukkah candles right after your Shabbat candles. So what we do is we light the Hanukkah candles right before Shabbat candles. We say our blessings and then boom, walk over to the dinner table. And in our case, it's a dinner table. Some people put their Hanukkah candles on a shelf, whatever it is. But then we light our Shabbat candles after. And then, yes, during the course of Shabbat takes precedence. There is no other holiday more important to the Jewish tradition than Shabbat. So whatever, that means Hanukkah is going to be secondary. So yes, during Shabbat, there's certain blessings we say before we eat, after we eat. And so on that Shabbat, we would incorporate the special blessings for Hanukkah during a Hanukkah meal, for example.
Well, I'm really happy that I asked that question because, I really adore light, all things candles. So my questions are always deep. But I've got another question about the menorah. I've seen menorahs all over the world and they are so beautiful. So are there any kind of rules in designing or making a menorah?
So a menorah is always with 8 candles, and they're always on the same level. Always, if it's a kosher menorah. I know I've seen like beautiful sculptures and it's very nice to look at. It's just not the sort of thing that one might consider a kosher menorah when you light the Hanukkah candles, but there are some gorgeous ones. Okay, so all of your 8 candles are in a row, and then there's the extra candle, that's called the shamish, which is the helping candle that you use to light the other ones. And the shamish is not on the same level as the other 8. It's either higher up or lower, it doesn't matter. It's just on a different level because it's the 8 nights of the 8 nights of Hanukkah that we are celebrating. And so altogether, candles, if you're buying them in a box, you buy a box of 44 because you need to have that as you're lighting 1 Hanukkah candle for the first night, 2 Hanukkah candles for the second night, third, and so on until you get to the 8th night. I'm telling you, be in Israel if for any night on the 8th night of Hanukkah, because you will see these candelabras full of gorgeous candles in every window as you walk down the streets, especially in very religious neighborhoods, just everywhere. Okay, so the thing is that even so you have your helper candles. So even though a box of candles, if you do the math, has to be 44 candles to make sure you have everything for every night, it's really those primary candles which add up to 36. And again, Daphne, I'm telling you, Miss Old Soul, like, who asked these questions? I don't even ask these questions. I just happen to know the answer of 36 because I'm learning from scholars of the Talmud. I don't make this stuff up. So there are 36 candles lit over the course of Hanukkah, and 36, you're going to love this, has such a deep meaning. All of the numbers have deep meanings in the Jewish tradition, but the number 36, that has a significance of oneness. And Jews believe in one God. We are one soul. The Jewish people are also one nation. Like, it's just oneness. So the thing about 36 and oneness is the light of the candles are supposed to help each individual see who we are. And when we look at the light of the Hanukkah candles on the 8 nights that we look and enjoy and take it in, we among other things remember that nothing is holding us back. The thing about light, as you know, since you, Daphne, and all of us who appreciate light so much, is that picture yourself on an airplane, right? So when you're on an airplane, you're up there with the sun. If it's a cloudy day, there are clouds below you. There may even be storms going on below you, but you're up there with the light. So it's actually always a sunny day, even if the weather's cloudy, even if it's stormy. And so we understand that God's light is always shining. It's always, even on days where the sun hides behind, even on the days that we think God is hiding, that no, he's always there. Literally, figuratively, even on our dark days, he's always there. And we all experience that. We all have ups and downs. We all have our dark days, our challenges. The person who wrote in before, she's a theater actress in Mamma Mia. So I know from knowing actresses, not being one, but knowing that they definitely have so many ups and downs, the auditions, the rejection, the highs of getting a role, the high of getting a lead. Every person's life has their ups and downs, and but really nothing should hold us back. And we can have strength in knowing that he's always there. He's always watching over us.
That's so beautifully said. What do you think, Dr. Jacalyn?
I want to give a big amen to that, if that's okay. That's appropriate. We are going to take a break. There's so much more to discuss. We do have a follow-up from Haley. She said, Mamma Mia opening night is almost here. We are so excited for you. I guess the expression is break a leg. And we'll look forward to hearing how your show is going. So for our break today, I'm very excited to thank Ian Pelham-Turner and Helena Shard for this wonderful clip that we're going to watch. It's called the Earthshot Prize, and it really has a lot to do with our planet and taking care of each other, taking care of our planet. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll be right back. And Heather, I was wondering, since you spent a lot of time in New York, if it's possible, I don't know if there are any similarities or differences, to talk about Hanukkah in the States versus Hanukkah there in Israel.
That sounds fun. Yeah. We'll talk about it when we get back then.
Yes, we will. Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the Earthshot Prize, and we'll be right back here on USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio.
Ours is a world of wonder. Every day it reminds us of its beauty. It touches us, teaches us, and astounds us. But it also warns us that what we throw away does not go away. That higher temperatures mean a lot more than longer summers. That we can no longer take life as we know it for granted. We are at a unique stage in our history. Never before have we had such an awareness of what we are doing to the planet. And never before have we had the power to do something about that.
everyone. Welcome back to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads. And again, hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. We are thrilled to have you here today. This is the first episode of our show, Holiday Traditions. I'm here with Daphne Diluce and our guest, Heather Dean. Heather is a PR and media expert. She also is an author. She has lived in the United States. She gave up everything as a celebrity interviewer, just said, that's it, I'm out of here. And she went over to Israel, where she has an award-winning podcast, and she is sharing today about the traditions of Hanukkah. So welcome back, Heather.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
You've given us so much wonderful information, Daphne, spot on with great questions. And I'm wondering if we can just start off with, you lived in New York, you lived in the United States for a long time. What is the holiday tradition of Hanukkah like in the States, specifically in New York, as opposed to Israel?
So in the United States, so as I mentioned in the first segment, Hanukkah always takes place in the dead of winter. A lot of light coming through in the dead of winter. But the thing is that it always usually comes at some point between the end of November to the end of December. And that's because it falls on a certain date on the Jewish calendar. So as I mentioned before, it falls on the 25th of the Jewish month Kislev. And so that's why it always times out it can start anytime between the end of November until the end of December. This year, it falls on the end of December. So the thing in the United States is that is holiday season. So it's the Jewish holiday, but obviously the Christian holiday. And in the past 20 years, we've become much more cognizant of Kwanzaa, which is a winter holiday that is celebrated especially for people of African descent, and there are more. It's just like an all-over holiday season. So I think unless you're Jewish, Hanukkah can sort of seem to get a bit lost in the sauce, so to speak. But I think people might find it kind of cute to see Santa Claus, decorations of Santa lighting menorah, or all Merry Hanukkah, like all these things that kind of get it mixed and jumbled. The difference when you get to Israel is Israel is the Jewish state. So the thing is, this is so mind-blowing, and I have been in Israel for 2 decades. It still blows my mind that December 25th can come and go, and people don't even think of any holiday other than it's just December 25th on the calendar, just like any other day, July 17th or March 17th, whatever. It's just another day. So it's sort of weird as an American growing up where the Christian holiday is so important, especially other than Easter, that's also probably the most important day for Christians. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but that's what it is. I'm sure that if you were to go to Tehran, the December 25th would also come and go, and in Abu Dhabi or in the Emirates, it comes and goes. But yeah, so that was a weird thing to get used to. But yeah, so here the focus really is all about Hanukkah. In fact, as I said before, once the fall holidays finish in Israel, it really becomes all about Hanukkah. And then when Hanukkah comes and goes, then it's about the next Jewish holiday, which is Purim. And that's a whole different thing. That's also very, very festive. It's the happiest day of the year. But that comes in early spring. So those are some of the differences. Very cultural, I would say.
I think that's really fascinating, and I want Daphne to weigh in on this as well. So here in the States, what I found over the years, a couple of things, is that I have many Jewish friends who also celebrate Christmas. So they put the Christmas tree up as well. And then I also have a lot of friends, some number of friends, where it seems like the gifts are more important than the religious significance of either of the holidays. So what do you find there in the UK? What do you find in Israel? It sounds like Israel, that's not happening. But what do you find in the UK, Daphne?
Well, in the UK, we've got quite a lot of areas where we have very traditional Jewish group or family groups. And then we have got some some groups of Jewish people that they're very religious. Absolutely. So, and literally, you can in London, you can drive around Golders Green, and you find yourself in some areas, and everybody's dressed so differently to you, and you just can feel it. It's almost like you can go 10 meters and feel something different there than you did there. Yeah. So the thing is, what is so wonderful about London and actually UK is that we are multicultural now. You know, that being British and sipping tea in a nice cup. Yes, I do that, but not many people do. Yeah, so we're multicultural. So the thing is, and in my life, I've been blessed to have so many Jewish friends. And I've actually, done a lot of studying with many religions, and Judaism being one of them. But I think that it's so wonderful when there's this interfaith. But when you look behind interfaith, and you start to look at goodness, light, taking care of family, nurturing, nutrition, looking after the earth, looking after your spirituality, then actually we're not different at all. There's just different kind of holidays and labels. Anyway, that's my humble opinion. But what's so exciting about living in the UK and around London is that actually you can go around the world in a day. So you can drive up and see the menorahs. You can go in central London and see angels flying around from the lights. You can see Christmas trees. And then before that, we have Diwali. So you'll see the Diwali celebrations. I'm just like, love the light. So I'm just like a little fairy. I'm just attracted to anything that's light and beautiful, and that does something good for the world.
Thank you, Daphne. That's beautiful. How about you, Heather? What are your thoughts on the question?
So I think it's also so important to fill the world with as much light as possible. The world is going through a very challenging time. The United States is going through a challenging time. Obviously we see that here from Israel and anywhere outside the United States, that it's a really, really tumultuous time. And I look from afar, and I really, I have some relatives back in the States, and I just think, I don't know what to think. The United States has been very, very good to the Jewish people. The United States is the one country in the world that has not thrown the Jews out yet. It has not expelled the Jews. And if you look over history, every other country has. So I am very, very grateful to have been born and raised in the United States. My dad was a very patriotic World War II veteran, and so we would hang the flag out on all of the American holidays. And I still am very proud to be an American Israeli. So I do think it's a very important thing to bring as much light into the world, and that's one of the aims and one of the things that the Torah stands for. And Jewish people who study it and look into it, and every Jew is encouraged to study the Torah and to ask questions. It's one of those things where the people that are the scholars don't say stop asking questions about it. You can peel the layers and see that the basic values of the civilized world come from the Torah, which, if we didn't have Torah, we wouldn't have Christianity also, or Islam, because the basis foundation of Christianity is what is called the Old Testament, what I would call the Torah, what I do call the Torah. The foundation of Islam also, if you look at all of there's many traditional names in Arabic that are from, that I would think about as Jewish names, like Jacob, which is one of the Jewish patriarchs. So there's many Arabs named Yaqub, and Ibrahim, which is Abraham. So there is this foundation that the Torah has been a gift to the world, the civilized world. With the Torah, there hadn't yet been encouraged a system of judges and courts. There back in the ancient world, it was just sort of like what the king said goes, or what the ruler says goes. But in Korah, no, in Torah there are definitely so many laws about judges, courts. There are laws about morality. There are laws about finding lost objects. There are laws about speech, what is proper speech and what is improper speech that we are not allowed to say. Gossiping is a very, very big no-no. And Jacalyn, you read my book, and you might find it ironic that back in the day, before I became religious, I used to actually be a producer and work on The Gossip Show, which is all about celebrity gossip. So it's just one of these ironic things, but we grow and we evolve. But yeah, it's really important, when Daphne brings up light and lighting up the world, it's this idea like having a sense of purpose, and that we are here for a purpose. So that's one of the foundations of the Torah, is you're here for a purpose, whoever you are, Jew, non-Jew, whatever it is. We are going somewhere and we are getting somewhere. And each one of us, no matter who you are, if you're a human being, you definitely have a purpose in the world. And if I could just elaborate on that, the talents that you are given and the interests that you have, that is part of the light that you are supposed to bring to the world. So Jacalyn, I've known you for a long time. Thank God we are friends. And one of the things that I know are among your many interests are beautiful things, right? So you have skills and talents in hair and makeup, and you have a beautiful home, and you wear beautiful jewelry, and you clearly set out to beautify your own surroundings, yourself. You take very good care of yourself, and to bring beauty to the lives of others. And that's a sort of thing that's following along with who you are, is a beautiful soul who gives beauty to the world. But this is something for anyone who has read Jacalyn's book or knows a bit of the background of Dr. Jacalyn, is that having coming from the corporate world, you could have continued on that track of getting wealthy, being in a powerful position in the corporate world, and you made the decision to follow your light and to serve your purpose, which is actually being a giver, right? And there's nothing wrong with the corporate world. Some people are designed for that. But there are some people who want their purpose in the world and what they give to the world and their talents to actually bring out light in other people and light into the world.
Thank you, Heather. That was so beautiful. I'm getting teary over here. Thank you.
Well, I think
Daphne, you know Jacalyn also. I've known her longer, but you know that's how it is.
Jacalyn's got a really generous heart, and the thing is, and she's very, very tenacious, and it's one of those. She's like a fountain that's always giving, and look, giving, learning, doing. She's.
We haven't talked about the fundraising and the health consciousness. It just doesn't end. And so this is the thing. You have a purpose to serve, so do it.
Well, I'd like to bring up another topic now on this wonderful first program of ours. And then I would like to talk about miracles, because I actually do believe we can call them in. I think we can make them, we can create them. But I think the big thing about miracles is that they're all around us. And sometimes we're too busy, or I don't know what some people are, whatever they are, don't even see the miracle. And I know that the story of the beautiful Hanukkah and the menorah has a lot to do about miracles. So, beautiful Heather, I would like to know, what do you think? What is your take on miracles?
So, why don't you give me an example of a miracle in your own life, or that you have seen?
What, in my life? Well,
yeah.
It's a miracle I'm alive. Yeah. I remember the first year of being a mother, I was very, very lucky to survive 3 times in 1 year for 3 different reasons. Really lucky. That's a miracle, because the three things so I was in in hospital altogether for 3 months in 1 year for 3 separate occasions in the first year of my son's life. I shouldn't be here. That's a
Wow.
miracle. I say
Wow.
thank you every day,
Well, yeah, I hear.
That's
I
a
hear.
miracle.
I like that. I like that you say thank you every day. It's a nice little habit I have that when I wake up, I start thanking also for certain things. You know, even if it's I'm grateful when my appliances and utilities are working, right? You never know. You never know if there's a power outage. So that's like a blessing that the wisdom of how lights light up and sound and an oven can turn on, like this is wisdom that has trickled down to mankind from the ultimate source. So, and more wisdom gets trickled down in every generation, which is why there's been so many advances, I think. So miracles, yes, I guess when they happen on a big grand scale like this, they really are a wake-up call. The way that Judaism understands how God runs the world is that it's not all about the big miracles, because actually our understanding is that God wanted the world to run naturally. God invented nature and could have had the world run any way that he wants. He's God. But nature has to take a certain course. So when we have these big wake-up calls of, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen, okay, it's a nice wake-up call. But a person who's really tuned in, and I think that the three of us are, and people that are watching this and have gotten this far in the broadcast also have some sort of sense of that as well, is that there are everyday miracles. So yes, it also includes the birth of a baby. I mean, how does human life go from living inside a person? How does human life breathe? You're inside a person on average of 9 months. And then all of a sudden, certain medical miracles have to take place for that human life to then suddenly be outside, be born in the outside world. There has to be a miraculous change in the structure of the lungs to suddenly then be able to function and live in the world, in the outside world. So yes, that's one of those big miracles. It's happening constantly because babies are born constantly. That we may or may, maybe the parents think, wow, it's such a miracle. But if we step back and think, it is happening constantly, that kind of a miracle. But even the way that, I don't know if you're like me, but I love to watch fast motion flowers blooming. I love those movies where the flowers bloom right open. You just see montages of that. Or the public service announcement that was played during the break. You see all these gorgeous pieces of scenery, but even something simple as a blade of grass, that also has divine providence. There's divine providence everywhere, and there's little miracles, big miracles. It's all going on at all the same time, that we're able to have this conversation, that our brains can function, knowing that what I'm saying to you right now, you understand enough English to know and your brains are working well enough to know what I'm saying. So just the whole idea of being a sentient human being, a thinking, functioning human being, and all of the things. I mean, Jacalyn, you raise money for Crohn's colitis. So you, of all people, know how miraculous a body works when it's working well. And even when not everything's working well, but other things, yes, in the body work well. Again, these are miracles that are going on all the time.
I love that, Heather. And I just wanted to share, in alignment with what you said, I feel like miracles that I've seen, I have these illnesses and I've gone to all these doctors and they put me on all these medications, and I just decided to stop taking them. And guess what? They went away. Now, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. So I give my blessings and I do my affirmations every day. There's so much to be thankful for. Everywhere you look around, there's something to be thankful for.
Right, absolutely. And so it's one of the reasons why there's so many different foods, that just to switch gears to food, there's so many reasons why there are these traditional food, since this is a show all about holiday traditions, that the miracle of the Hanukkah oil that we talked about in the first segment, why oil figures into Hanukkah foods sometimes. So there's many delicious dishes that are fried in oil. So it's a tricky time for the diet, especially if you have a condition like Crohn's colitis, then you have to avoid that sort of thing. But fried potato pancakes, that's one of the centerpieces. You can expect that at many meals, fried potato pancakes. And there are various variations. Sometimes people like fried cheese pancakes. Ugh, but in our health conscious society, so people are also switching it up to healthier varieties. So maybe not fried potato pancakes, but you can shred carrots and make nice fried carrot pancakes, or zucchini, sweet potato, or beets. Quinoa is a popular thing to make into a nice fry, or you can bake it with some oil. So there are many variations of the fried dishes, and also we mentioned donuts before. So donuts are everywhere. You go in Israel, we joke that even the barbershop is selling donuts. Like, it's just everywhere. So there's the jelly donuts, but even cream-filled donuts and caramel and puffy donuts and donuts with sprinkles and frosting, and I just avoid the whole thing because again, it's so not, for me, it's not worth all those calories, and I don't also love donuts. I'm more of like a big salad person, but it's really super popular. And then the other thing that we didn't get to, it has a historical background, is so many dairy products on Hanukkah. And that goes back to a historical incident with a very famous Jewish lady named Judith. Do you know any ladies named Judith, or any girls or anyone named Judith? So
Yes.
So there's a very famous Judith. In Hebrew, we call her Yehudit, same thing. So she actually saved her village from the Syrians that occupied her village at the time, and they were doing dreadful, terrible things to the women and girls of her Jewish village and to all of the villagers. So if you look into the history of Judith and the Hanukkah story, that is where dairy products fit in. Were you ever told that before bed, if you can't sleep, have a glass of warm milk? So what she did was she used dairy products, creams and milk or something, to actually induce one of the Syrian overlords. I think it may have actually been a king or a general. And when he was asleep, she took care of business, and there was no more problem with this particular ruler, and her village was saved. So the milk is what saved the day. So that's why you will see also on Hanukkah tables all kinds of cheesecakes or cheese blintzes or cheese bagels, pizza with cheese, things that are made with butter, cheese, milk, cream. That's also super popular for Hanukkah, holiday tradition.
Oh, I picked the wrong time to give up sugar. Sounds so good. I'm just rolling over here. I have a question about the oil. Just sorry, one quick question. Is it olive oil? What kind of oil is it?
So the original thing, it really originally was olive oil, and so that's why many traditional Jewish people have they will use olive oil candles or olive oil to light their Hanukkah candles, but there's different kinds of kosher candles around. It doesn't have to be olive oil, but yes, absolutely olive oil. And the thing about olive oil, when it's done in a kosher way, is olive oil is made from an olive press. And our tradition is that the best oil from the olive are really is that first drop or the first drops. So can you imagine? That's why it takes so long to make the oil that is kosher enough to light at the Holy Temple, the eternal Holy Temple in the eternal capital, Jerusalem. Like, it has to be the most kosher of the kosher. So that's why it takes a lot of oils and a lot of those first drops to make something that's sanctified enough to merit being lit at the temple. So that's why it's such a miracle that one cup with all those first drops of olives, that really made it through all 8 days.
That sounds like a miracle. That's amazing.
Well, I think that it's important, and I do things with intention always. And I've got some lovely friends in America who are Jewish, and they've made something called intention sticks. And you kind of put your loving intention in there, and you actually live with that intention. So I think today, what I really love about hearing everything that you're saying, Heather, there's so much goodness in it. There's so much light. There's so much life coaching there. There's so much to actually delve in and learn more about, and thank you so much. But what I have actually been privy to over the years, with knowing many wonderful people all over the years, is sometimes hearing beautiful Jewish prayers, but not everyone is privy to it. And I know the Shabbat prayer very well myself. But is there a prayer, a beautiful prayer for Hanukkah, and would you be prepared to let us hear it?
There are a lot. I should have brought my because it's in Hebrew, so I could rattle it off in Hebrew. But there
Oh
is.
no, but that's what I think. It would be very lovely for our audience to actually hear what a Hebrew prayer sounds like. Because
So
the thing is, what Jacalyn and I are endeavoured to doing is to bring beautiful celebrations to the world and educations to the world, and beautiful people like you to tell us the stories, so we can hand them down, and that we can also, put a light on all the beautiful things that there are in the world, all the traditions, all the things. So a Hebrew prayer would be fabulous.
Okay, so other than Adam Sandler's "Put on Your Yarmulke, It's Time for Hanukkah," I'm kidding. Which I love.
I know that one.
I love that song, and I love Adam Sandler. He's one of my favorite celebrities to interview. Love him. So one of the best known Hanukkah songs is called Ma'ot Sur, and Ma'ot Sur, Sur is the rock. So the ultimate rock. Sorry to Dwayne the Rock. What's his name? Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yeah, the rock. The ultimate rock is the rock. Is our rock. Is our steadfast Lord in heaven. So he is a rock. He is our strength. So Ma'oz Sur is the rock of our strength. So part of the lyric is Ma'oz Sur Yeshuati, and Yeshuati is our salvation, or my salvation, Yeshuati. So there are many words that follow, but Ma'oz Sur Yeshuati. So even I think many Jews of all levels of observance, they probably have heard of the Ma'oz Sur song, Ma'oz Sur Yeshuati. So there's that. You had asked before about Shabbat, when Hanukkah falls on Shabbat. So Jews, we love to eat, but our meals are a commemoration. Every single meal, especially a meal that you have with bread. So a Shabbat meal, which starts with bread, always there's a whole ritual that goes with before you even take your first bite of bread, and then when the meal wraps up, it could be 15 minutes later, half an hour, 2 hours later, whenever the bread meal finishes. So no matter what day of the week it is, there is an after blessing said on a bread meal. So on Shabbat, there's a special supplication for that after blessing that includes a Shabbat observance. But then Shabbat Hanukkah, so that's the longest of any of the blessings that are said after a bread meal, because the Hanukkah supplication sort of retells very briefly the story of how in the days of Mattityahu or Matthias, that there was a kingdom that ruled over the Jews, and how they subjugated the Jews in their own land, Israel, and how God made a miracle for us. God made the Jews victorious in the battle that took 3 years. God made a miracle by the oil lasting for so long. So when the temple was cleared out and cleaned up, and then the oils were lit to commemorate the temple, so that is a special supplication that is said on bread meals over Hanukkah, including Shabbat. So wow, it's amazing that you would ask such a thing. Such an old soul. Have you been told, Daphne, you're an old soul? I know Jacalyn is. Jacalyn's very in tune to the universe.
Well, this is all information that I did not know at all. So I think it's fascinating. But Daphne, go ahead, answer that if you would about being an old soul.
Yes, I am an old soul, and I think it's actually, and I love all the things that both you beautiful women are saying today. And I really hope that our audience can really watch this over and over again. There's so much wonderful stuff here. And so thank you both. Yes, I am an old soul. And so in what we've talked about today, we've talked about miracles, traditions, about light, about God, about something being bigger than ourselves, and about how valuable we are, each soul.
Yes.
And I think the thing is, as an old soul, I hope that I'm getting it right these days, because practice makes perfect. I'm very humble. I do a lot in the world, but I'm very humble, and I've got a big sense of humor, you know. And I say, there go I, for the grace of God. I try again tomorrow. So I'm, yes, an old soul, but a humble soul, if that answers your question.
We have so much more to learn from you, Heather. I hope that you'll come back and share more with us, because I feel like we're just like skimming the surface, and we're getting a lot of interest on social media. So thanks to all of you who are watching on the live, and also those of you who will watch on the replay. And again, what an honor to have you here with us, Heather and Daphne, to be co-hosting the show with you. I feel so privileged to be with two powerhouse women who are really heart-centric and yet have put so much beautifulness out into the world. Heather, I want to spotlight you as we close out, and I've read your book. I have your book. I tried to go over there in the break and bring it out, but do you have it there with you?
I have my book somewhere with me, but I don't want to have to leave the room and vacate the seat and bother everybody. But yes, it's somewhere. Maybe on the newsletter. Daphne, hint, hint. Yeah. My book.
Her book is so phenomenal. Searching for Heather Dean. I want to make sure I get the tagline right. My life as a celebrity interviewer and why I left.
Close enough.
Gave it up. So
yeah.
So if you would just share with our audience, I read your book several times. It's fascinating. You have full chapters in there about people you've interviewed, Howard Stern, for example, and what it was like in your career. And you had everything, literally everything, and said goodbye. So if you would just share with our audience why you made that decision and what it's been like for you ever since.
Oh, that's so nice to ask. So yes, I had everything as far as the most fun career you could imagine for someone who is an entertainment junkie, right? Who is a pop culture junkie and loves everything about the world of entertainment. It was so fun to get to meet every big star that passed through New York and do interviews. But I mean, I also went to film festivals and out of New York as well. It was so fun. However, I chose a life upgrade, pure and simple. The more I looked into the religion that I was born into and saw miracles and saw the wisdom of the Torah, the deeper and deeper you go, it's mind-boggling how important every letter is in the Torah. We were talking earlier about the number 36, how important every number is, how important every person is, how important the holidays are, how important even the days that we are built into the Jewish calendar that are for mourning. And I don't mean mourning like dawn. I mean mourning like sadness and loss. So there are days of solemnity, and there's just so much richness in the Torah. And I thank God that I'm Jewish and have wise Talmudic scholars to teach more about what's in the Torah. So I just chose a life upgrade to return to the land of my soul and build a life in Israel, which is where I met my husband, which is where all of my children were born, and thankfully speak English as well as they speak Hebrew. So everyone gets on just fine. So I chose the life upgrade, pure and simple. Just like Jacalyn, you left the corporate world for a life upgrade, and here you are living the dream. All of us.
Well, thank you, Heather. And the life upgrade sure looks good on you because you're so passionate about everything that you're doing. You have brought so much incredible content and information about Hanukkah and the Jewish people, the Jewish faith, and the holidays. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Daphne. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
And I hope you two will reach out and have your own collaboration. I love connecting people together, so I see something coming from this.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you, Heather. And I'm going to spotlight you again. We're running your banner, but what's the best way for people to reach out to you, especially since people on the radio can't read the banner, and where can we buy your book?
Great. So my book, Searching for Heather Dean, is available on Amazon. So that's very, very easy. Just a few clicks and you're good to go. As far as people who want to reach out to me, so I'm actually not traditionally and officially a teacher of the Talmud and the Jewish tradition, but I just study a lot. What I actually do for a living is that I am a coach of interviewing in the media, having conducted so many hundreds of celebrity interviews, and even having been interviewed many, many times on network television. So I've taken those strengths and that experience, and now I coach people on how to nail their media interview, how to reach out to the media, how to form a proper pitch letter to the media, because you can't just call up and say, hey, I'd like to be on your show. There's a whole way that is done. So I help people navigate their way to growing their business by promoting their product or their service or their written work through media interviews. And it's a really rewarding coaching position to be able to do that. And people can reach me, Heather Dean, at HDP, which is like Heather Dean Productions, HDP_coaching@yahoo.com. You can email me directly there.
And I highly recommend working with Heather because I've worked with her myself, and she shows up with more information than you could have asked for. So, and everything that she does is from a place of heart. It's from a place of experience, and she really wants you to do your best. And so she's a great partner. So please go to Amazon and buy her book, and please contact her, HDP_coaching@yahoo.com. And she also has, is it a course or a series called Nail Your Interview?
So Nail Your Media Interview is a course in the works. However, it's the actual system of coaching that I do. So I have a whole different kinds of levels that people can receive coaching for Nail Your Media Interview.
Wonderful. So please do reach out to Heather. And if you're just joining us, I see some folks just tuned in. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and watch this from the very beginning. Thank you so much, Heather, for being here. We'll look forward to having you back again soon.
Looking forward. Thank you, ladies. Have a great day.
Thanks. Take care. Bye. I just love her. Really love her as a person and as a professional. She's just such a wonderful friend. And obviously she's so knowledgeable about so many things. We could have her on all of our shows and she could add value to them. So thank you again, Heather. Daphne, as we close out the show, I'd love for you to share with people how they can get in touch with you and who should contact you.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is very unusual. My name is Daphne Diluce. I'm the only one in the whole world. That's a big responsibility. Anyway, they can contact me by my website, Daphne at daphnedeluce.com, and at rawmediacreative.com. They can email me, my name, Daphne at daphnedeluce.com. So, and if they sign up for the Global Post, a USA Global TV, there's a direct link to my email. They can contact me there.
Thank you, Daphne. And also for those of you who don't know, Daphne is the brains and creative behind everything that you see with graphics and our new trailer for Talking Heads. We've got a lot of other new trailers coming that are in the works. And she's also the editor-in-chief of the Global Post. So please do sign up. That will be coming out shortly today, I think in a couple of hours. So we really appreciate you being part of this journey with us. And Daphne, thank you for everything that you do for me every day. I really appreciate it. Between you and Heather, two strong women who have helped me immeasurably. It's incredible.
Well, you're easy to help because you're actually a very hard worker and you show up and you do the work, and you really know your purpose, which is a big one. So that's an absolute pleasure and delight. And I wish you a wonderful day, Jacalyn, and thank you for being my co-host today and for me being your co-host. As always, had such a lovely time.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Daphne. Thanks for the great graphic today as well.
You're very welcome.
All right, I'll see you later.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for being here on our first episode of Holiday Traditions with our guest, Heather Dean. I was just reflecting during the commercial. We were running the Earthshot Prize, and I looked out the window, and we're on the bay here. And what do I see but a giant float that's been deflated and is just stuck over on the wetland? And maybe the owner's not here anymore. And I was thinking to myself, this goes on all the time. We watch that clip and we don't think that it really applies to us. But now there's birds over there. People are leaving here because it's an island. So I have to figure out a way to go and get that raft. I don't know what it's going to be, but my point is, look around at your own environment. What small step can you take to make this a better place to live for everyone? Because it's not just about us as humans. It's also about all of the wonderful creatures that live here and that they need their home taken care of as well. So I know I'm going to do my part and get rid of that raft somehow. I might have to pull out that paddle board, which would be quite a feat, but it's going to happen. So thank you again for your loyalty and watching, and we will be back tomorrow with our regular lineup of shows. We do have some new shows this week. We have the Power of Manners and Etiquette. We have the United Kitchens, and we also have the Wise Ones, previously known as Happy Seniors on the Go. So thank you again. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And if you want to get in touch with us, just email me, Jacalyn at drjacalyn.com. That's all for now. We'll see you again soon.